would you like to achieve mental and emotional resilience? Ryan Christensen will tell us how. He's a hypnotist. And he is an author focusing on peak mental performance, emotional resilience, and life satisfaction. And he leverages his decades of experience in the military, counterterrorism, and counterproliferation worlds to dive deep and rapidly identify the core beliefs holding his clients back. So, Ryan, tell us, how can entrepreneurs achieve mental and emotional resilience in the face of massive fear and trauma? Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Well, that's a really good question. And I think the first thing to realize is that your mind is always doing what it can to help you live the best life possible. So all these emotions that are coming up are actually it trying to help you get to where you want to be, right? We look at emotions quite often as being pain. They're coming from wounds. They're caused by trauma. And it really causes us to avoid all these things, trying to push it away, trying to run from it. When really they're just questions. They're your mind saying, I'm understanding the situation, the world this way. This is a challenge we're facing, and I need your help to fix it. Need your help to navigate it. Right? So it's about engaging with your emotions, letting them lead you to what the problem is so you can get there faster.
Okay, so tell us your blueprint for how someone would start to achieve mental and emotional resilience when they have like a recurring trauma that is in their head all the time. So let's say, I don't know, they're trying to speak in front of hundreds of people, and they feel like they can't do it because of an experience that they had as a child where they were mocked at while trying to speak.
Well, let's take a look at that. So fundamentally, all these different memories and everything else that come up are our mind trying to figure out how to navigate a situation. It's like, I don't understand how to solve this problem. But it's not that situation that's trying to solve. That's just an example of a larger pattern. You know, the part of your mind that works on, that creates the emotions, works on patterns. It's looking at the forest rather than the trees. So it's more like, what does this situation mean about who I am? What does the situation mean about how the world works? So if you're in a situation where you're young and you're trying to speak and everybody mocks you, it's like, oh, well, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good at this. I'm not good enough. I don't measure up. And so your mind from that point on is saying, okay, I got to keep you away from situations. So I'm going to push that button again because it's too painful, right? So it's about understanding, oh, I didn't think I was good enough back then because I wasn't good at this because I hadn't learned yet, hadn't gotten the skill, right? So it's understanding why you looked at things a certain way back then, how you look at things different now. That helps you start to reframe how you need to move through the world, right? Because if you weren't good enough then, if you weren't capable, weren't strong enough, but now you are, now you can face these things a bit different. But it's taking that lesson of saying, okay, let me just assume that my emotions are right. Let's assume that this is dangerous in some way, right? What would have to be true for that to be correct? That allows you to start digging in deeper to figure out, okay, this is not actually true about this. This is what I got wrong. Now I can move forward differently.
Thank you. It sounds very easy, but the reality is your subconscious is going to guide a lot of your decisions, right? So, for example, every time I organize a really large event with hundreds of entrepreneurs, what happens is that my body self-sabotages. And how it does that is through sore throat and migraine and even like anxiety, right? So physically, yes, I will be there. And perhaps I will also self-sabotage by not sleeping the night before because I still have like a gazillion arrangements to make and not enough people to delegate to. And then the day of the event, I will still deliver it, but I will look like I have run uphill for the last 40 days. And, you know, instead of like, you know, going there like a princess and looking like this, like stunning princess that is doing nothing, I'm going to be looking like a proper train wreck and find it really hard to smile. Although I will smile, but it will be like a forced smile, like this actress that hasn't gone to acting school. You know?
Yeah. No, totally understand. So
like
I said,
how do you deal with, you know, like a situation where like you consciously know, yeah, I'm great now. I'm amazing. And I speak every day, and every day that I do speak, I mean, I'm amazing. But when it comes to something where I'm exposed, to, thousands of people. And
Yeah.
I'm the same kind of belief that I used to have, which was that I wasn't good enough or that I wasn't a great speaker. It kind of comes up and it self-sabotages. So how can someone prevent self-sabotage from interfering with their desire to have mental and emotional resilience?
Sure. So first thing I would say is that there's no such thing as self-sabotage. That's
Okay.
not actually what's happening. Okay. If you're not getting what you want, you're getting what you need. There's a deeper part of you that has a more powerful need that's being expressed. Okay. The fact that it's not what we want to be happening, kind of beside the point, right? Because there's other parts of us that have deeper needs. And fundamentally, what that part of your mind is trying to do is protect you from emotional pain, trying to keep you away from situations that are going to push that button, right? Because at a certain point, if you're in too much pain, you kind of want to not be here anymore, right? It ends up rising to the level of actually a physical threat to your life. So it's fundamentally trying to keep you safe from keep you from putting yourself in those positions. Now you do it anyway because that's what you want to do, and you're trying to create a certain situation. So there's a conflict between that deeper part of you and that conscious part of you. And the thing is, both of you are right. You are in fact a much better speaker now. You are in fact good enough. What you're afraid of is the judgment. What you're afraid of is being evaluated, being judged, and so forth and so on. Great. So how can we reframe that? One way that I look at it is the only way somebody can judge you is if they have authority over you, right? If they don't have authority over you, all they can have is an opinion, right? So why are you giving them authority? What authority are you giving them? Oh, you're giving them the authority to judge your performance in your presentation. Why? Because you're worried about being good enough. See how that works? Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you can say, this isn't about me and who I am, this is about just the information I'm conveying, well, now they can't judge who you are. All they can do is judge your presentation. All they can judge is the performance that you gave, right? And that's not who you are. It's not about you being good enough or not good enough. It's did I deliver it or did I not deliver it? And you delivered it. You killed it, right? So anybody who has an opinion other than that was not your audience to begin with, right? So you start taking a look at what the actual problem is, the idea that you're not good enough and the judgment that may come with it. Great. How do I fix that? How do I reframe that? Because I can't just tell me yourself I'm good enough, because if that would have worked already by now, right? So we have to take another look at, okay, why do I not think I'm good? Oh, this is the piece. Great. How can I reframe this piece? Right? Figuring out what that is can take a little bit of work. You're absolutely right. But it just need to look at it in a slightly different way and ask slightly different questions. And one of the biggest things you can always ask yourself, this is the best question ever. What am I missing? What am I missing? I'm here. I should be feeling okay. I'm not. What am I missing? Okay. This is fear of judgment. Great. What am I being judged for? Do they actually have the authority? Maybe I can take that back. Maybe they don't have the power to do that. Maybe they'll have an opinion. Everybody's got opinions. Most of them suck. So why should I care?
I care about opinions, though. I care about what everyone thinks. So how do I let that go? I don't seem to be letting that go. And I think that's one of the reasons why, for example, I run 6 podcasts, okay?
Yeah.
But there is an extra podcast that I have which is my podcast, that I haven't actually started, where I'm talking. And there's a reason for that. It's like, I think I'm giving the opportunity to all of these experts to speak, and I'm not speaking myself because deep down I still think that I'm not good enough.
And fundamentally, that's part of the problem is you're trying to let it go, right? You're trying to say, I don't want it to be here. I want this to go. Your mind is doing it on purpose. It has a reason for it. There's an objective. It's trying to achieve some kind of objective. It's trying to solve some kind of problem. So until you know what the problem is and solve it in a different way, it's going to keep doing the same thing, right? So by saying, I want this to go away, you're saying, I can't engage with this, don't want to be dealing with it, which means I'm not trying to figure out what the problem is and not trying to solve the real problem, which means your mind has to keep doing it, right? So it's the complete opposite of trying to let it go. It's engaging with it, diving deep, figuring out what the real problem is, and finding a different solution to it. Right. Talking about the idea of not being good enough. This is something that happens. Oh, so many people. Fundamentally, when we're growing up, we can't get what we need for whatever reason. Right. Doesn't matter what that is. We come to 2 very simple conclusions. Number 1, we figure we're the problem, mostly because we have no control over our environment. Right. Can't get up and leave, make a different life, can't change things. Okay. So what do we have control over? We have control over us. We're the only things we can change. Therefore, that's the thing we have to fix because it's the only thing we can fix. Right. So we start looking at ourselves as a problem. Okay. Then because we're not good enough, because there's something wrong with us, we must not be good enough. That's why we don't deserve. Okay, so we have to figure out what the thing is to become good enough. That's the thing we have to fix. But both of those are the wrong conclusion. If the environment is such where you cannot get what you need, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not about value at all. It's about the fact that this stuff was not available to you for whatever reason, right? It's understanding that you were never the problem to begin with. It wasn't about your value or deservedness at all, right? If, starving kids in Africa probably deserve some food. Them getting food, completely different question. Having and deserving, two different things, right? I can deserve something and not be able to have it. I can have something and not deserve it. Think about all the rich people that are complete jerks. Do they really deserve that? Do they really earn it? Right? Maybe not. So when you start separating have and deserve doesn't have anything to do with have. Deserve is about value. Wasn't about your value. Wasn't going to be able to get it anyway. You weren't the problem. It was environmental. Now you can start taking that apart, right? Because it's not about you. Does that start making sense?
Yes, it's making sense. However, it's not leading to a conclusion.
Sure. Well, yeah. And part of it is because we think that we have to fix this thing, right? And it's not necessarily something we have to fix. It's something we have to understand in a different way, right? We draw these conclusions about who we are and how the world works when we're young, and they get locked behind that wall in our subconscious mind, and they don't change. Partly because we're looking at things from two different perspectives. We're looking at the trees, it's looking at the forest. Right? It's looking at patterns over time rather than individual events. The individual events don't really matter. It's that pattern itself. We don't really know what that is. But the conclusions are what matter. It's like this happened and it means this about me. It means this about the world. Okay, great. This happened, it means this. Is this true? Is this actually what it means? Can we interpret it a different way? Because if we can start shifting the meaning of those different events and how we understand it, that's what starts shifting our idea of who we are and how that part of our mind needs to work, right? There's a great little metaphor I use called the game that can't be won. Right? You're growing up, trying stuff, nothing works. Fair enough. You just start feeling like it's not the things you're doing wrong, just you. It's kind of like you're playing a game where the rules are always changing and the goalposts are always moving, right? And if that's happening, there's really no way to win that game, is there? Not really. So if you cannot win a game that cannot be won, does that actually tell you anything about who you are or how good you are?
No.
No. Is there anything wrong with you that you cannot win a game that cannot be won?
No.
No. If the game is rigged, losing is the expected outcome, right? So what can you really conclude about yourself from all that?
Not a lot.
Right? And all of a sudden, it's not about you. It's not about something you need to fix. It's not about your value. It doesn't really tell you much about anything about you. Just the situation you're in, right? At that point, you can start saying, okay, maybe I don't need to worry about everybody else's opinions because my opinion about myself is the only one that really matters.
Thank you. I've always wondered what really powerful entrepreneurs and really powerful politicians even, how do they have this kind of mental and emotional resilience where they get shot? They, they have 5 million people talk and write rubbish about them. I don't know, some of it true, some of it false.
Sure.
In magazines and in social media, and they do like these mocking videos about them of, dancing politicians together and, all of this crap. And I don't understand how they're able to live with it and not care about the world. How did they have this mental and emotional resilience?
Fundamentally, it comes down to a deep acceptance of who you are, right? If I know deep down inside, I'm good, this is fine, I'm built the way I am, and this is how it's supposed to be, then there's no button to be pushed, right? The reason people get their buttons pushed is because it's confirming that deep down thing of like, oh, I'm not good enough, right? That's why I get standing up in public, oh my God, somebody might judge me. There's a resonance there, right? There's something that matches. But if that's not a thing, there's no button to push, right? I know that I am perfectly built exactly the way I am, right? I have autism, I have bipolar disorder, I've got ADHD. This thing is wired completely differently. But that's just how I'm built. It's not who I am. The things I do are not who I am. They're just choices I've made. Some are good, some are bad, right? And so when your identity is not wrapped up in all that external stuff, when it's not wrapped up in what people think about you, it's very easy to let that stuff slide, right? And part of it is they just don't go anywhere near that. Just don't put themselves in an environment where they're seeing that stuff. They're not looking at the comments of the YouTube section, right? They're just not putting themselves in a position where they're being bombarded by this stuff because it's not something that interests them. Right. And also, if you've got that higher purpose, if you've got that bigger vision, it's a lot easier to kind of put yourself aside. Right. It's not about me. It's about this bigger mission. Right. Same kind of thing with people in the military. It's like there's something bigger than me, something larger than me that needs to be accomplished. I'm just here to create that.
Thank you. So how do you become actually immune to what people think of you? How do you how can you even manage to like not care what people think? I still don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's not something you can do on your own. I wish it was, but it's really not, right? If you think about it, like it's really hard to do brain surgery on yourself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So getting into your head and actually figuring out those beliefs, what's wrong and adjusting it, it's not something you do on your own. In some ways, If you and your mind are at odds, then it doesn't really trust you, your consciousness, right? So it's going to be, there's limits to what it can do in terms of what you're allowed to change, right? And all the things you want to change are just allow it to do something, allow you to do something that thinks are bad, wrong, or dangerous in some way. Really hard for it to let you change it, right? It's not going to trust you to do that, which is why this is the work that I do. I go and I do that for you, right? It's kind of like you're a CEO of a company, everybody's on strike. Labor negotiations are broken down, right? You can sit there until you're blue in the face yelling at it, I ain't going to listen. So what do you have to have that third party negotiator come in, sit down and say, okay, let me actually understand what both parties are doing, why, and let me negotiate a new solution, right? And part of what you have to do is assume that that part of you is right and you are wrong, because you have to understand why it's right before you can prove it wrong. And if you don't take that step and say, I'm going to assume you're right, how does this actually work? Why do you believe you're right? How are you supposed to get anywhere? Right? If you're working for a boss that never listens to you, there's really hard to make any progress. And that's kind of what we're doing to ourselves a lot of times.
Thank you. There's also one interesting thing where, for example, I got disappointed with a lot of clients from a few years ago. And I have found that after those disappointments where I was scammed or not paid or, whatever other, disappointments that I had with them, I wasn't able since then to powerfully and confidently send any sales proposals. So much so that sometimes I let, time go by until, and it's not that I don't want to work with those people, I do, but it's like I've become afraid of people, I've become afraid of helping the exact kind of people that I actually want to help. And it feels ridiculous, but it's true. So how does someone like me build this kind of mental and emotional resilience in spite of many disappointments from people?
That's a really good question. The question I would ask is sit down and say, okay, what does this mean about me that this happened? Because it's really kind of the question that has to be answered, right? Like they don't really matter. It's like, what does this mean about me?
It means that I was unable to put boundaries and I acted like a doormat and I overextended myself and I gave them 1,000 times more than I promised and I kind of almost killed myself in the process and they were still not happy.
Sure. So maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's about discernment, that you didn't recognize the kind of person they were on the front end. You got yourself in a situation like, oh, I should not have been in this situation to begin with, right? And if you don't trust yourself to get in, to not get in bad situations, you're just not going to let yourself get in any situation, right? So maybe it's not about, yes, you let yourself get walked over and you gave too much and so forth and so on. You didn't set boundaries. Fair enough. My bet is that you'd probably be a lot easier for you to do that now. So that's probably not the problem you're facing anymore. It's am I going to make that mistake of putting myself in that position with that kind of person again, right? But you probably know the signs. Probably saw them early on. You just ignored them, set them aside or said it wasn't that big a deal. Did the deal anyway. Okay, so all you really have to do is say, okay, I trust myself to pay attention to the red flags. If I see the red flags, I'm going to pay attention to them, and I'm going to do something about it early rather than letting it get too far.
I didn't see any red flags. Really, I didn't. And it's strange because I always see red flags, and I'm so good, so intuitive, but somehow those people I didn't. And I find that I have a blind spot for narcissists.
Got it. So then when did you realize that you were giving too much?
When they were unhappy after I started to put some boundaries, but that was after I over-delivered by 1,000 times. That's when I realized.
Perfect. Then in that case, I think that the boundary you might want to look at setting is like, okay, I'm going to deliver as I promised and no more until you show me that we can actually play fair. Right? Because if I deliver and you say that's not enough, it's like, well, this is what you agreed to. They start trying to bully you. Awesome. Out the door you go. Right? So it's saying, okay, I didn't set boundaries early enough. I let them push too far. That was a big thing for me, was anger, where it's like, I wouldn't notice that my boundaries were getting pushed until they were right up on my face. Right? By the time you're here, it's like, I'm really ticked off because you're right up on my face. Okay, that means I need to start setting those boundaries way out here. Start putting those things in place way out here. Testing way out here. Because then I'm going to know if you're actually trying to push my boundaries or not. Because if you start pushing and we're out here, we're not even close, now I can say, okay, I'm out before I get to that point where I'm really getting triggered and really angry. It's just about maybe putting those boundaries in place a lot earlier. Maybe being a bit more firm about your commitments. Right? You promised to do a certain thing. Did you deliver? Yes. Your side of it is done. Right? And part of it is just valuing yourself and what you deliver enough to say, this is what I promised and this is worth it.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Sure. So I'd say the best place to start is my book. It's called Winner Peace: How to End Inner Conflict and Make Success Inevitable. It's how to build, a unified team with your mind. So you guys are on the same page, working together instead of fighting each other all the time. After that, if you'd like to do some more work, my website is www.ryanthehypnotist.com. I offer free 45-minute consultations. We'll dig into stuff just like this. Take a look at what's going on in your life, what's not working, tell you how we can get you to a better place.
Thank you. Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health change makers to live your healthiest life ever.